I'm Ndidi Oriji, and I'm here to share with you some career advice that I've gotten over the years. When I was a newly minted lawyer just starting out, I spent about 80% of my time working and the remaining 20% worrying. I worried about everything: my love life, my student loans, and of course, my career. I was lucky to meet people from the very start who gave me advice and helped me make it through those initial years. But much of the career advice they shared with me was spread out over many years and really only made sense to me much later. I wish that someone had taken all of these pieces of advice and just delivered it to me all at once in a video. It didn't happen for me, but if you're still watching, then congratulations, because it's about to happen for you. Here, in no particular order, are the 7 pieces of career advice that have been most helpful to me. I hope that they'll be helpful to you too. The first piece of advice I have for you is don't worry. It will all be fine. I remember starting out as a young lawyer and feeling like I just didn't know anything. I felt like everyone around me knew exactly what they were doing, and I was the only one who was clueless. I was the only one who had no idea what anyone was talking about. I wondered how I would ever go from a person who knew nothing to someone who could actually be trusted to help clients and provide advice. I couldn't understand how I could go from where I was to that point. But looking back now, I see that I wasn't the only one who didn't understand what was going on. I see now that the type of understanding I was looking for takes time. You learn, you work, you build, and then at some point, you wake up and you realize that people are asking you questions and you know the answer to them. And that's the thing. Worrying about your career does not actually make you better at your career. It won't solve any of your problems. It won't result in growth or progress. What moves you forward is paying attention and asking questions and learning useful skills. You know, if I spent as much time learning a useful skill as I spent worrying, something useful like learning a new language, then I could say with confidence, "I kusema lugha nyingi," which is Swahili for "I speak many languages." At least that's what Google Translate told me, because based on how I pronounce those words, I'm sure you can tell that I spent most of my early career worrying and not learning a useful skill, like speaking Swahili. I now know that the root of my problem was fear. I was worried because I was fearful of going down the wrong path and ending up stuck in a job that I just hated. Which leads me to the second piece of advice that I want to share with you, which is don't make decisions by picking the least scary option. Instead, really spend your time figuring out what you actually want. I remember being about 2 years into my career, and I got an opportunity to switch law firms and practice in a new area. Now, you would think this would be an easy choice for me because this was an area that I'd been wanting to go into for a long time. But the decision was so difficult. I agonized and I went back and forth. What if I left and I didn't like the new firm? What if I didn't enjoy the new area of law? What if I wasn't good at it? I was stuck and I couldn't decide. So I reached out to a good friend of mine who was more senior than I was. And I realized that I was spending so much time trying to map out every single option that I was going to miss a great opportunity. She told me, "You have an opportunity to do what you want to do and learn a whole new area of law. So what if you don't like it? And what if you aren't good at it? That's valuable information that you're going to have, and you'll have it early in your career, which is priceless. So make the move, take the leap, choose the scary option." I was stuck because I was trying to make the right decision, but even more so, I was trying to avoid making the wrong decision. But just like life, careers are filled with ups and downs, and most of the time, there's no obvious right or wrong answer. If there was, you wouldn't be agonizing over it. Your job is not to suss out the perfect option. Rather, it's to be thoughtful and use all the information and resources you have to make the best decision for you. And one thing that I've found to be true is really that most of the time, the option that involves more risk usually leads to more rewards. Which takes me to the third piece of advice I have for you, which is that you've got to take some risks. Now, I'm not talking about something truly risky, like eating meat from a street cart. I mean that you should pursue things that excite you. I used to feel like anything I did that was not within the prescribed path for being a lawyer would take me off the rails. And then, like the comedian Chris Farley used to say, I would end up living in a van down by the river. Take the year off from school and travel? No thanks. accept a different assignment in a different state. Not for me. Here's the thing though, most of life and your career is about the journey and not the destination. So that path that you're so scared of taking, it might actually lead you to where you need to be. Which leads me to the fourth piece of advice I want to leave you with, which is stop keeping all your options open. You don't need every option that anyone has ever had. You just need the options that you actually want. The fifth piece of advice I have for you is to speak up. Tell people what you want, share your thoughts, express your feelings. Speaking up requires courage, and it can sometimes mean discomfort. But not speaking up is even worse. There were times when I'd be sitting in a room early in my career in a meeting, and people would be talking and ideas would be going back and forth, and I'd think of something that I wanted to say, but I would not speak up. I wouldn't say anything. And then I'd hear somebody else say something that I was just thinking, and I'd be like, oh man, that's my idea. But it's not my idea because I didn't say it. Even worse, there were times when I would leave the meeting and no one said the thing that I was thinking. And that's the thing. It's your job to contribute. It's your job to speak up. If you don't say it, then they can't hear it. And if they can't hear it, then you might as well not even be in the room. The sixth piece of advice that I have for you is bring your whole self to the table. Sometimes as women, as people of color, we think that we need to have a work self that's separate and apart from our true selves. And in some way that's true, because you shouldn't be defined by your work alone. But by bringing your whole self to the table, I mean that none of us is ever really just one thing. And sometimes at work, you get so caught up in keeping up the separation between your true self and your work self that you begin to be thought of as just one kind of person. And you get caught up in that. And people start to pigeonhole you into being just one way or doing only one kind of work. But it's up to you to make sure that you find ways of expressing all of yourself and showing others that you can be and do more than one thing. Last but not least, the final piece of advice that I have received and found helpful over the years is that you have very little power over other people, but you have all the power over yourself. You can't always choose what happens to you in your career or in your life, but you can certainly choose how you're going to react to it. I remember an instance where I was working with a very senior person, and he had a notorious reputation. He was known to be very harsh and not a very good teacher. And I turned in an assignment to him, and I got a note back from him. And the note said, that was stupid. He literally crossed out something I wrote and wrote, stupid. Now, I was thinking to myself, this guy is smart, and I'm just starting out, and if he says this is stupid, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just wanna crawl in a corner and just never come back. But I spoke with a friend of mine, and she said to me, you need to go and talk to him about this. You need to follow up with this. You don't just let someone say something like that and not say anything. So I went back to him and I asked him, why did you write that? And what did I do wrong? And he actually took the time to explain to me what mistake I made and how to fix it. So don't worry, it will all be fine. Go ahead and choose the scarier decision. Take some risks, close off some options, speak up, bring your whole self to the table. And most of all, remember that you have all the power over yourself.